Our topic is about how the movie Love and Other Drugs connects to neurochemicals. Neurochemicals. Among the chemicals circulating in the brain are some which have direct bearing on the behavior of the individual. These include neurotransmitters, which we have discussed and will continue to discuss. Neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the chemicals released at the synapse. They are included in the transmission of messages. Depending on the place where they act, they can have either an excitatory promoting action or an inhibitory lessening activity effect.
Acetylcholine can operate as a neurotransmitter and neuromodulator at many places in the central nervous system or CNS. It helps to promote REM sleep and is implicated in motivation, arousal, attention, learning, and memory. When Jamie was reminiscing about his childhood, we learned that he was smart and his memory is good. Jamie was motivated to pass his training on Pfizer to become a pharmaceutical salesman while having a sexual relationship with his trainer. When Viagra was released, more people were asking it on demand and made Jamie earn more profits. Inhibitor sildenafil also exerts effect on the central nervous system to modulate arousal, according to the findings of new study. Jamie is motivated to do his job properly because he wants to go to work at Chicago.
Dopamine. Dopamine is a type of neurotransmitter. Your body makes it and your nervous system uses it to send message between nerve cells. That's why it's sometimes called a chemical messenger. Dopamine plays a role in how we feel pleasure. It's a big part of our unique human ability to think and plan. It helps us to strive, focus, and find things interesting. Too much or too little of it can lead a vast range of health issues. Some serious like Parkinson's disease. L-DOPA is used to treat the motor symptom associated with Parkinson's disease, a neurodegenerative movement disorder characterized precursor to dopamine and crosses the blood-brain barrier to increase dopamine neurotransmission. Maggie Murdock is suffering from Parkinson's disease. That is why she's taking a lot of medicine, like Cinnamon CR, for shakiness, stiffness, difficulty moving, and dopamine and artine.
Yeah. My apartment was burgled yesterday and they took my Parkinson's med.
Maggie and Jamie's relationship began with them enjoying a lot of sex until they became increasingly attached to each other. Dopamine levels in our brains rise when we are exposed to highly exciting stimuli. This is unfamiliar territory for our brain, and the coolidge effect kicks in. As we continue to engage, the stimulation pleasure neurochemicals in the brain respond. When we go beyond normal pleasure activation, the chemicals can start causing damage to our bodies. There's also a scenario where Josh is masturbating while watching his brother Jamie's sex film. This guy's only source of pleasure is sexual activity. In anticipation of a reward, the brain releases dopamine, a hormone linked to motivation and happiness. So you're in a biological position to feel good when you plan and know you're going to work towards something. Each achievement provides a boost of dopamine, making you desire to keep going with the job. When you achieve your goal, however, the amount of dopamine released decreases. Biochemically, joy is more difficult for you.
Serotonin impacts every part of your body from your emotions to your motor skills. It's the chemical that helps with sleeping, eating, and digesting. Low levels of serotonin are linked to both anxiety and depression. So, Prozac is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It works by blocking the absorption of the neurotransmitter serotonin in the brain. Regulating the amount of serotonin helps brain cells transmit messages to each other. This results in a better and more stable mood. Zoloft is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor used to treat a variety of psychiatric disorders, including depression and social anxiety disorder. Zoloft works by balancing the levels of serotonin. Drinking alcohol can temporarily boost serotonin levels, therefore making you feel happier, but in the long term, and therefore either cause or exacerbate depressions.
When When Josh Randall was kicked out of the house by Farah, he was having a panic attack. According to chemical imbalance theories, panic disorder symptoms can be attributed to imbalances in naturally occurring chemical messengers in the brain known as neurotransmitters. These help communicate information between nerve cells brain throughout the brain. The human brain is thought to have hundreds of these different types of neurotransmitters, and chemical imbalance theories suggest that a person can become more susceptible to developing panic disorder symptoms if one or more of these neurotransmitters do not remain balanced. The neurotransmitters serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and gamma-aminobutyric acid or GABA are specifically believed to be linked to mood and anxiety disorders. These neurotransmitters are in charge of regulating various bodily and mental functions.
Norepinephrine. Norepinephrine, also called noradrenaline, is a substance that is released predominantly from the ends of sympathetic nerve fibers and that acts to increase the force of skeletal muscle contraction and the rate and force of contraction of the heart. The actions of norepinephrine are vital to the fight or flight response, whereby the body prepares to react to or retreat from an acute threat. In the scene where Jamie caught his brother Josh masturbating while watching his sex tape, Josh knew that he needs to run away from his brother because he sometimes gets violent with him. Amino acid transmitter. The amino acid neurotransmitters are common neurotransmitters in the central nervous system. Lysine, glutamic acid, and GABA are classed under amino acid neurotransmitters.
Gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA, is a natural amino acid that works as a neurotransmitter in your brain. GABA is considered as an inhibitory neurotransmitter because it blocks certain brain signals and decreases activity in your nervous system. When GABA attaches to a protein in your brain known as a GABA receptor, it produces a calming effect and can help with the feelings of anxiety, stress, and fear. Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurodegenerative disorder characterized by bradykinesia, rigidity, and resting tremor. Striatal dopamine depletion produces an imbalance between the direct and indirect pathways to the basal ganglia on the classical rate model. Dopamine depletion is thought to elicit a release of indirect pathway activity, resulting in an abnormally increased GABA. This model shows dopamine depletion in Parkinson's disease should therefore cause both increased concentration of GABA in the thalamus and lack of facilitation of the motor cortex. This has contributed to development of stereotactic surgery for treating Parkinson's disease.
Jamie lands Viagra and becomes very successful. Maggie decides her sickness will only hold him back, so she breaks up with him. While apart, he gets promoted to Chicago without booze. While packing his things for Chicago, he comes across a video he and Maggie made and remembers how happy the two of them made each other. He stops the tour buses on taking the seniors to Canada for their prescriptions and tells her they need each other. She hates that she will always need him more, and he declares his devotion to her. He gives up on Chicago and stays there with Maggie, applying for med school. Lesson from the movie: sex won't close the gap. Maggie calls it with pinpoint accuracy because this isn't about connection for you. This isn't even about sex for you. This is about finding an hour or two of relief from the pain of being you. The only aspect of Jamie that he values is skill with women. He throws himself into casual sex because he hopes that it will distract him from the emptiness in his life. Josh, on the other hand, envies his brother's great sexual experience even while he himself is far more successful than Jamie. A lot of men assume that being good with women will magically translate into solving all the other aspects of their lives. It won't, at best. It provides a distraction and the problems will still be there when the sex fades.
His and her emotional baggage. Jamie's self-worth is almost non-existent and he has never had a real emotional connection to another person in almost his entire adult life. Maggie is afraid of the inevitable rejection that comes when men realize they don't want to deal with a sick girl. As odd as it sounds, it's their emotional problems that help the relationship survive. Everybody has baggage. It's an inevitable fact of life. Instead of worrying about finding flaws, one should look for baggage that goes with their own. There is no way to change anyone's behavior who internally feels there is fundamentally no problem about the behavior. Change is eternal, not external. Changes take time, and those that happen overnight tend to be superficial and later are dropped for more familiar behaviors. Thank you for watching, and we hope you learned something.